Perfect. There we go. So, R Markdown is a way to write sort of text agnostic, text, which then can be converted into a whole bunch of different formats. So it's really powerful and useful if you want to write and then you have to submit to a journal, and then the journal has a specific format that they want, and so you can automatically, so when you write it, then you can convert it into that format. But like, let's say you get rejected and then you submit to another journal and they have a different format, and then you can rearrange everything without actually changing the actual document itself. And the nice thing is that you can insert code chunks, R code chunks, into this document, which then can generate figures right into the document itself. So it can save you a lot of time, and it's a lot of fun to use because you can create websites, you can create blogs, you can create books, you can create like almost anything. Slides, you can create posters, you can create anything in this format. So it's really quite powerful, and it's not too complicated. Okay, so hopefully everybody has installed RStudio and has it opened. So if you open up RStudio, and I will make this brighter and larger. Okay. Code appearance. Okay, actually the first thing I'm going to say, so the first thing is, because there's a lot of different, I'm only going to be able to cover so much, but RStudio has a lot of really useful cheat sheets. So if you go to the help cheat sheets, and there is an R Markdown cheat sheet there. There's two. There's the R Markdown cheat sheet, which is like sort of just a simple, goes over the basics of it, and there's also a reference guide which goes over a little bit more detail about what you can do inside R Markdown. You can print these off, which is really useful, and then you can put them like right beside you, or you have them right close to you. Quite useful as you're learning to have like right beside you as you're working. So if you need any help, you go to there. Anyways, the first thing that we do is we're going to create an R Markdown file. So if you go to File, New File, and there's a thing called R Markdown there. So I want you to open this, and inside there you'll see a bunch of options. There'll be document, there'll be presentations, there'll be Shiny, and then also from templates. So this is like if you want to, if other people have developed templates that you can use. But what we're going to focus on right now is HTML, or we could do Word, but I'm going to stick with HTML right now. If you want to create a PDF, you have to install LaTeX, which is rather large, and we're not going to go into that. So there's HTML. So you include your title. So I'm just going to call it Learning in R Markdown. Okay. So, what pops up? You should see a couple of things. So, the first thing you'll see is this thing called the YAML header. So, the YAML header is basically just metadata about the document, and it contains things that will be used to create the document output. So there you've got the title, you got the author, you got the date, and then you got what it will output to. So if you click on this very first thing at the top here, knit. You just click that. Oh yeah, we just have to save this. You should see something pop up like this. So this is an HTML document. You can open it up in a browser, but you can also create a Word document. But I'll cover that in just a second. So you can see here that it creates like headers. It includes like the code as well as the output of the code. If you want to include plots, it'll put a plot right into the space. And so we're going to go over how to make use of this a lot more. So it's really, really powerful. Okay. So right now what I want you to do is delete all of this. Delete all the way to the bottom. So there's nothing left. Now in R Markdown, or Markdown, there are several sort of like syntax that specify what the will be outputted. Like what will be how the document should look like. So like bolding, headers, italics, lists, and so on. So if we wanted to create a header, this is header 1. If we wanted to create header level 2, this is level 2. Before I continue, is everybody okay? Like, were you able to generate it?
No, I cannot. It just doesn't even. I will just follow this one. It just doesn't. It keeps on telling me that I haven't installed the packages, even though I've installed them, and I've installed them for the 3rd time now. But it just doesn't even open Markdown.
Yeah,
so.
I'm trying actually.
You're
it's
okay.
a problem,
It's,
but I'm just downloading the zip now.
I restarted a computer, I restarted R. I don't know what is happening now. But
Okay.
it's I'm trying to do this, and I installed the packages, and it doesn't work.
Okay, wait. Instead of go here and type out install docs, and then bracket, and then C. Sorry, just backspace. One more. And then C bracket. No, not quotation. Yeah. And then bracket. So quotation marks now. And knitter. And then with an R, yeah. And then go outside of it and then comma. Inside of the C. Comma. Yeah. And then quotation marks. R Markdown. And then enter. Sorry. No. This is always the hardest part. I should have put it on. Those things are so terrible.
So, yeah. Slowly.
Yeah, I can just
Yeah. Let me just.
I made it work by getting the zip and then just unzipping it into the library.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't. It kept giving me an error message, but it closed it before I could read what it was. So.
That's really strange. I think you're probably encountering the same problem. Okay. Maybe we deal with this later. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is It's like a permission thing.
Okay.
For whatever reason, you don't have permission for opening that file, that folder.
Interesting.
Sometimes that happens.
Okay.
So I mean, you can still write the stuff, but you just can't create the.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So we can build it. And you got it figured out?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
got it on.
Okay. So unfortunately, some of you won't be able to actually see what it looks like on your own computers, but at least you'll be able to see what it looks like here. Okay, so, and as you can guess, if you want to have header level 3, that would be 3. And then 4,
What is the header level?
I'll show you.
Okay.
That's what the header level is. So header header 1 is just like a section. You could think of it almost like a chapter title, and then the next one would be the section title, and the next one would be like a subsection. That's what you can think of as these. Okay, so
There's no limit to how small you can make
for the number of headers, you mean?
Yeah.
I think you can only go up to 6, but
Okay.
really, I don't think you should go more than 3.
No.
Like, generally, you don't want to go more. So, if you want to bold, this is bold. If you want italics, this is italics. If you want to create a list, an unnumbered list, and if you want to create a numbered list, and then if you want to see what this looks like,
Yeah.
did it knit for you?
What?
Did it create for you?
What do I do for it? Do I just run the
Knit.
code? Oh.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, there's a little thing at the top. You can either click knit, or you can run Control Shift K to knit. It's called knitting. Yeah, sorry. The naming I think is like a play on like you're knitting, you're interweaving text with code.
Yeah.
So you knit a document together. That's why the package is called knitter. if you want to do a footer or a footnote, I mean, footnote. If you want to have a link.
It gives me an error message when I try to submit. I don't know if it's something that I can install the package.
Scroll up. Let's see.
Maybe I should reinstall it.
Yeah. Maybe afterwards you two can stay in and we'll figure it out. If you want to do block quote, so I can show you what this looks like in a second.
Look.
Yeah.
So this is the footnote. I should write that just before the chunk of the code that generates the table.
Oh, you mean for a footnote for a table? Like a footnote, a table footnote.
Table footnote or the figure footnote.
A figure footnote, you'd probably just use a caption, but a table footnote,
So
that I don't know.
so the thing is that you are writing the code,
Yeah.
or you are just writing like a Word document, and this symbol, you have to write that in the text, and then this
Yes.
and automatically will link the
Yes.
footnote? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what it ends up looking like. So the footnote goes to the very bottom, and then you could just like, it'll link it right down to the bottom. And this is what a block quote looks like. The numbered list, the unnumbered list, and so on. And there's one more that's the image. You can insert an image. And then if you have like an image file, like I don't have this here, so it's not going to show up, but if you have like a PNG file or a JPEG file, if it's in the same folder as this R Markdown file is, then it'll include this.
Can you just put the entire file path and then it doesn't matter?
Yes, then you could put the entire file, but I strongly recommend that. It would be better to put it in the same folder, or because then that makes it so it's self-contained. Because you want, as much as possible, you want your code and your projects to be modular and self-contained. Okay, so these are the basics of Markdown. These format the text so you can be able to create a document, and even though this is fairly simple, this can get you a lot of places. You don't need to do too many fancy things other than this. So it's simple, and it's simple but powerful. Now we can actually get into inserting the code snippets. So this is what's called a code chunk. So if you do Control-Alt-I, or alternatively, you can click this insert button at the top. Insert R. You can also insert Python code chunk, SQL, Bash.
Sorry, Control?
Control-Alt-I. Did that work, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't look at me. I'm just writing what you say in Word, and then maybe this will be figured out.
Yeah, it takes time to work through these. I do not expect anybody to come out of this and be like, yeah, I'm gonna write everything in R Markdown. It took me a long time to be able to slowly switch over to using this compared to what I was previously using. But it's so much funner. Funner? I don't know if that's more fun than what I was doing before. Okay, so if you wanted to plot like if you wanted to insert a plot, you can insert the code right here. So the thing the reason how knitr works is it identifies this curly bracket R curly bracket, and it knows to run things inside here. So I can write, if anybody is familiar with the iris dataset, sepal length, actually, let's do it the simpler way. Sepal length, sepal height.
Do we need to load any package?
You don't need to load any package. And then you can run, and if you do Control Enter, that'll just run this line of code, and then you can see the output below. And then when you knit this, it'll automatically insert this. Oops, sorry. It'll automatically insert this figure into the document. So this is really useful if you're going back and forth with your supervisor or co-authors or whatever, and they make recommendations on like what to change the data. So you just change the data, rerun the document, and then bam, you don't have to do anything else. Everything, like the code is still there, and it just generates the figures as needed. So it's a very powerful and efficient way to just keep your working going, rather than having to fiddle with inserting a figure into the Word document and so on.
This is not working.
It's not working for you?
No.
Tilde instead of minus. Oh. Yeah, sorry, that's really hard to see. That's actually a tilde, so it's a little like squiggly line.
Not where you put that.
So we can generate an HTML file. Oh, yes, please.
It's so hard.
Yes. So if we can generate this. Yes. To delete this. And then we can see that it inserts the plot here at the bottom. If you want to use a Word document instead, all you have to do is just change the top from HTML to Word, and then do the same thing, knit, and it opens up a Word document. So for those who need to send their co-authors or whatever a Word document, then you can just still be in your world of R Markdown, but then still send documents out to the other people.
And then we can just write over the Word document that we generate.
Like right in the Word document?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can, but then then it's going to be different from the R Markdown.
Uh-huh.
It's better to stick with the R Markdown file, and then whenever you're done with the Word document, delete it, because the important thing is the R Markdown file.
So if I work with the R Markdown and then send to my colleagues to have some input on the code, or
Yeah.
he needs to work on R Markdown, or he needs to work on the Word document that I am just sending.
I guess it depends on what your co-authors or your colleagues or whatever want to use. So if you wanted, you could send them the R Markdown file, and they could write directly in there. But more likely, it's just better just to send the Word document.
Okay. One additional question. The footnote is inserted at the end of the document?
No, just at the end of the page.
Page.
Yes. In the Word document, it's inserted at the end of the page, but in HTML, it's inserted at the end of the web page,
Okay.
which could be the entire document. Yeah. Okay. If you wanted to insert a table, you can use the function called, it's inside the knitter package, and it's called cable. So if I just did like head iris, it creates a table like this. Is your computer still messing up?
Oh no, yeah, this thing's not working, so
Oh shit.
it's not gonna work.
Okay, we'll figure it out later.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't know why. It's and then if you wanted to see what it looks like, yeah, mine is, I have to always do this, but that's because I don't actually have Word. There we go. So it creates a table inside of the Word document. So then that way you don't have to copy and paste stuff from the output into the Word document. You can just create the table inside R Markdown, and then it generates it for you. If you wanted to insert a caption, you do for the figure, you do fig cap. I'm just going to close this because it's messing up. There we go. Sorry. Fig caption. So there are a couple of things here. Between these curly brackets, you can include some options. Right after the R, you can say the name of the code chunk, so then it shows up on the side here. So you can go right to it. And then you can give it some options. You can easily access the options from clicking the modify options. So you can choose what, like, some of the, these are some simple options. So for instance, if you want to customize the figure size, you could say, okay, I want it to be 8 by 8. And then it adds the figure width and the figure height. Now it's just got it messed up here. So then, when you generate this, so init, you'll see that the figure is bigger, and then it's also added a figure caption here at the bottom. With tables, it's a little different. You have to use caption inside of the cable function. And then if you want to knit it, gosh. The table caption is added to the top here. Okay. If you wanted to do some like calculations beforehand, so like for instance you wanted to run like some type of model, so LM is the linear model, so if we just stick with that simple example, but we didn't want this to be shown, then we could say echo equals false, and that won't show the code chunk. And then if we wanted to include I don't know how this so if we wanted to say the estimate for sepal length on sepal width is, and then you could do R-ish. And then what that does is it inserts this number directly into the text. So it'll look like this. You can round that off if you want. So then that way, if things change, if code, if like your data changes or something changes, you can automatically have R Markdown generate everything for you. You don't have to fiddle around with it at all. But like fiddle around with copying and pasting or anything. Now, another common thing to have is, I mean, you have to reference things. Like, so including citation. So if you wanted to include a citation, you have to, at the top, do bibliography and then the bibliography file. There's a lot of different formats that you can use. I use bibtec format, so that ends in .bib, but you can also include, I think, the EML for EndNote or something like that, or is it EndNote? There's a bunch of formats that you can use, and you can go to the website, the Markdown website. Oops. Yeah, so here are all the options. Here are all the formats you can use. So there's EndNote, there's RIS. I don't know if anybody uses that. BibTech. There isn't Medley here. I don't think that there's any Medley. So that's a downside. But I think Medley can output a BibTech format, which can be synchronized. So you don't have to. And so if you want to insert citations, you can insert a citation by this. And then what that does is it automatically inserts the citation right into the document, and then it'll insert the references at the bottom. Generally, it's a good idea to have at the very end a header called references, so that the references get added right to the end. They don't get added because there's this thing; they just get added into the end no matter what. So having this sort of references header is useful. And then if you wanted to change the style, you can use the CSL and then file CSL. Now if you wanted to have the CSL, so CSL stands for Citation Style Language, and if you wanted the CSL specific to a journal that you're submitting to, there is a website for that. GitHub, citation styles. So this website contains pretty much, if there's a journal out there, there's a CSL file for it, and so it's all contained here. So you can just download that particular CSL file and then save it to your computer, and then put it right at the top here, and then that way, boom, it generates the references as the journal requires. So it's really, really useful. Another thing I wanted to show is if you wanted to include a tape. Does this include? Does it work? These two things. It doesn't work for this. I think it'll work for an actual word, but HTML. This includes a table of header at the top that you can just click through.
I got it working now.
You got it working?
I just purged all my packages and it's open.
Oh my god.
But now it's working, so it's
Okay.
worth it.
So that was the extent that I'm going to show for today, I think. I want to show some examples, but yeah.
I think I just missed the part where at the very top you first put output HTML, but then you have to erase that and insert the bibliography or citation instead of putting the output.
No. Sorry. So bibliography. Yeah, you just put the bibliography at the top here. Bib, file, bib, and then CSL and CSL file. Sorry, I just deleted it because yeah, it doesn't work.
So you put TOC true after.
Yeah, TOC table of contents.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Because I
Yeah,
was,
sorry. Yeah.
And it will recognize the headers, basically.
Yes,
And
exactly. It will recognize headers. Yes. So the
And it's clickable.
yeah, it's clickable. Yeah, it's clickable. Yeah. So I just want to show an example of book down. So these are books that are generated with R Markdown. So if you wanted to write a book, what this book down package does is it automatically generates like the side here. So it creates the HTML file that you can upload as a website, but it also creates PDF files that you can then eventually very quickly create into an actual book to get printed or whatever. And it does this all in one go. So it's really, really nice. So if you ever do want to write a book, this is what you should be doing. This is what you can also write blogs. So there's blog down. This is also another package called blog down. And I want to see if there's like some examples of blog down.
Is it possible to format also the size of the page in the Word document?
Yeah. Yes.
So I can write my PhD thesis in R Markdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. 100%. You can. I wrote my thesis in R Markdown. Yes. I could definitely do that. This website here is through Blogdown, the package. So using R Markdown. There was another thing that I wanted to show. Yes. If you write R packages, you can create a table from using R Markdown. You can create like documentations about your package that's sort of included with your package, so it does all of this stuff, and this is called package down. If you want to make like just regular sort of web pages, so this auoc.github is the website. This website is not generated with R Markdown. I just wanted to show this so that for those of you who want to see any other events or sessions coming up, this is the website to go to. So it's au-oc.github.io, and that'll take you to this web page. And then you can go to the other sessions that are upcoming. And then I'll also be posting links of the code that I've used for each of these within these links here. But there's also this website here that I've started, and this was created using R Markdown. So the really nice thing is that you can create a whole range of different output formats from just a simple sort of Markdown format, which can save you a lot of time with, like, let's say you're writing your thesis and you create your thesis, but then maybe parts of your thesis you want to actually use for a blog. Well, it's very easy. You just move the file over. Or you want to create it into a web page of some type. It's very easy. You still have the raw material. You have the raw R Markdown file. Okay. I think that's about it. Does anybody else have any other types of questions?
Why you skip the PDF?
What?
Why did you skip the PDF format?
Because the PDF format requires that you have LaTeX installed. Does everybody know what LaTeX is?
Yep.
No? Yes, sort of. Maybe. LaTeX.
I know it exists.
Okay. Yeah. I strongly like. I've used LaTeX before. It's nice, but it's really complicated. It's kind of like Markdown, but way more complicated to actually use. The PDFs that it generates are beautiful, like really beautiful. Beautifully typeset, like it looks like a professional piece of work that somebody has created. But it requires that you have LaTeX installed. And it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to install LaTeX. Because it's big, it's like a 5 gigabyte download, so it takes a long time. And then there's a lot of like finickiness. So if you use Windows, it's really difficult to sort of install. And then same thing on Linux, it's a little bit difficult to install. So that's why I didn't really cover it.
But that's the only reason.
That's the only reason, yeah.
But if
you keep
have LaTeX,
if you have LaTeX, yeah, you can use PDF. You can use at the top here. You can just say instead of HTML document, you do PDF.
Yeah, and then you can actually kind of use LaTeX
Yes,
by using
yes,
Markdown.
yes.
I guess you could open the HTML and save as a PDF.
Yeah,
But that's another step.
yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it would be a little kind of different format as well.
Maybe.
I mean, if you just generate the HTML in a PDF, I think like the footers and stuff like that would not occur on each page of the PDF.
For LaTeX, or
No, I mean if you just create an HTML document and then
save as the
save it
PDF.
as a
Yeah,
PDF,
yeah.
then it would not be the same as
It won't be the
generating-
exact same. No,
Okay.
no. It won't be nearly as pretty. Not nearly as pretty. Yeah, I think that's all that I really had to cover. It's I think that's it. Sorry that you had troubles with your computer.
Yeah, that's the reason why I don't usually attend this kind of stuff, because if there is someone who has a problem, it's usually me. So I'm not actually surprised.
Okay, well, let me try to fix your
Okay.
computer problem.
I like your optimism.
Yes. Otherwise, I mean, I'll keep this up here, but I don't have anything else, unless you guys have something that you want me to cover.
Can you just give some words on remember the last session that you talked about the difference of when you put quotations and when you don't need to put quotations in the code? Do you remember that?
I wasn't here.
Yeah, she wasn't there.
Who was?
That was Jonna.
So
There was a Sarah though.
Aha.
Yeah. But it was John's friend. It was somebody else.
Okay. But do you remember the?
Ah, you mean the non-standard evaluation?
Can you give just a couple of words on it? Because I
Again? I mean, it's not even related to this at all.
No, I know.
I can always tell you later
Okay.
because it's not specific to this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave this up here, and I'm gonna stop recording.
What